I'm First Lieutenant Sean Tremblay, Combat Logistics Battalion 24's S4 officer. I've been deployed with the 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit aboard the USS Mesa Verde, a San Antonio-class amphib, for just over 6 months now. Off the starboard side, you can see the rest of our amphibious ready group. There's LHA-4, the USS Nassau, and off in the distance, LSD-48, the USS Ashland. We're now headed back towards Camp Lejeune, and it occurred to me that you might not be familiar with how to load this ship, or really how marine equipment looks aboard. So over the next 20 minutes or so, I'll show you around our cargo holds, show you what the equipment looks like aboard and how much space we have left over to move around. Keep in mind, this load plan is by no means the only answer. It's just one of the ways my team embarkation officer and the ship's combat cargo platoon has decided to meet the MU commander's intent. We're currently standing on the port side wing wall near the stern gate. The stern gate's currently raised as we're not conducting well deck operations. The Mesa Verde can hold 2 LCACs or 1 LCU in her well. Across the well, on the starboard wing wall, you can see First Lieutenant Procaccini. We have 2 LCACs aboard, and to make use of available space and to be able to push combat power ashore quickly, they're loaded or pre-boated with Humvees from Weapons Company. We can see that 8 Humvees are a pretty tight fit on an LCAC. During ship-to-shore operations, follow-on LCAC loads should be less crowded, as the time available to load the follow-on crafts will be shorter. Let's move forward to get a look at the ship's main vehicle stowage area. Now I'm standing at the top of the steel beach on the port side finger pier. You can see the top of the steel beach is a great place to store tall trucks. Behind me are my battalion's water truck, AMK 36 wrecker, and a mobile loaded maintenance van. All of these trucks are secured to the deck's pad eyes using 4 chains, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. This is the ship's cargo ammunition magazine elevator. It's used to bring ammo up out of the cargo holds during ship-to-shore operations. Now I'm moving forward through the main vehicle stowage area. Remember, this is where I place my wrecker, right at the bottom of the ramp to the upper V. We're going to move around this way, and I'll give you a tour of the main V. Now I'm still moving forward through the main vehicle stowage area. You can see my TEO has chosen to position my battalion's dump truck, engineer equipment trailer, mobile loaded with 2 CAT MTLs in this area. This vehicle is very difficult to maneuver because of its length, and it's not typically something that the MU commander is going to want to shore immediately during ship-to-shore operations. It's very important that we position this vehicle in a manner as such to be able to move it out onto the LCAC without having to make turns. Once we kick the LCACs out of the well, there's plenty of room down there to be able to reconfigure loads like this. On the other side of this bulkhead is that ramp going back up to the upper vehicle stowage area. Notice the cargo elevator on the ship's starboard side. It's important to keep the area in front of the elevator clear so we can move large items in and out to move them around the ship. Notice there's plenty of overhead clearance on this deck, and there are no stanchions blocking access. That's why it's good for large vehicles like our MTVRs, trams, and towed equipment. At the far end of this area, you can see the forward cargo elevator, and just beyond it, the ship's store. Combat Cargo's positioned the ship's JLG lift in this area so it can get quickly to the side port. Sailors will use this piece of equipment to clean and paint the side of the ship when we pull into port. Now let me show you to the ramp that accesses the ship's lower vehicle stowage area. Now the Mesa Verde has 2 lower vehicle stowage areas, one forward and one aft. They can be accessed by ramps or by scuttles when the ramps are up. Up in the main V, you can see First Lieutenant Procaccini standing in front of an M777 howitzer. And down in the lower V forward, you can see First Lieutenant Matheny. Let's take a walk down there and check out some containers. You can see Combat Cargo's done a great job positioning these quad-cons with the ship's 4K forklift. Notice how they're all covered and aligned. Also, they're not block stowed. There's plenty of space to open each and every one of these containers. Notice how they're all chained together up at the top. And the containers on the end are chained to the deck. Since we're on our way home, these containers, along with the rest of the equipment aboard, has been cleaned and then inspected by U.S. Customs officials, so we won't be opening them up unless directed to do so by the commander of troops or the ship's captain. Our inspection took place last month in Aqaba, Jordan. Notice the serialized bonding tags and inspection placards. Also, everything down here is free of dirt. Now I'm going to show you up through the scuttle to give you an idea of how difficult it is to access these spaces when the ramps are up. Yeah, 3 decks. We got a 3-deck climb, then we're going to go around the corner and climb down 3 decks into the lower V aft. Follow me this way. And this looks remarkably similar, but it's a 3-deck climb back down into the lower V aft. Make sure you open that hatch before you get down all the way, or else you won't be able to get it open. Now we're in the lower V aft. Notice the height restrictions down here. We've had to remove the gun shields from these Humvee turrets just to get them to fit. Also notice that the ramp is currently in the up position. There's also an MTVR sitting on top of it up in the main V. In order to get these trucks, or anything sizable, out of this space, the MTVR will have to be moved and the ramp will have to be lowered. Now I'll climb out of here and I'll meet you back up in the main V and walk you to the upper V. Now I'm on my way up from the main V to the ship's upper vehicle stowage area. Now you can see that this is not the ideal location to store an AMK-28. But the truck will fit as long as it's not equipped with a turret. Now we can squeak out a few more inches of overhead clearance by lowering the tire pressure using the truck's central tire inflation system, but it makes it very difficult to maneuver the vehicle on the non-skid surface. Pay attention to these stanchions when you're planning your load for this deck. Also, once you're aboard, be sure to stress to your Marines to close and latch each and every one of their truck doors to avoid damage while the ship rolls at sea. You can see the ship's starboard side cargo elevator also services this deck. And through here, we can see back down into the well deck. One more ramp to go. Follow me up this way past the ship's 10K forklift up to the flight deck. The door to the flight deck is currently closed, but we can access it through the hangar. We've been deployed with 4 AH-1 Whiskey Cobras and 3 UH-1 November Hueys. You can see them on the deck now. Over the course of the last 6 months, we've landed almost every aircraft in the MEU on this flight deck. The Navy's SH-60 Seahawk and our CH-53 Echo Super Stallions and V-22 Ospreys have been over here. Now, this isn't typically a significant embarkation space, but during real-world contingency operations, if you need to clear space out of the vehicle stowage areas, you can bring rolling stock up here into Spot 1 and still maintain the ability to land helicopters in Spot 2.
This area is called the Boat Valley because it's used to store the ship's 7 and 11 meter rigid hull inflatable boats, or RIBs. When Marines are aboard, we try to take up as much space as possible, so we've positioned 5 20-foot containers up here. You can fit a total of 8 20-foot containers here. Above, you'll see the knuckle boom crane. It's used to move the ribs and to pull supplies up from the pier on the port side. It can't lift these 20-footers, so you'll have to make use of a port's gantry crane to move the containers into and out of this boat valley.
Well, that's all I have to show you. You're now much more familiar with the Mesa Verde than I was the first day I came aboard. She's a capable ship, and I hope you get a chance to sail with her in the future.